What's up, gang? Cousin Justin here. In a world where everybody is fighting for a little bit of your attention, I just wanted to appreciate you giving me some of yours. Enjoy the episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. What's up, dude? Happy Monday.
What's up, man? Happy Monday, dude. What a pile of fucking snow outside.
Truly. Truly. And a perfect day for a contemplation. I pretty much didn't sleep last night and spent a good portion of the morning before I decided to stick around. I was thinking about going and catching the snowstorm. I'm a snowboarder, big time. It's one of my passions in life. And so I really thought about just like ditching the day and going snowboarding. And then, the contemplation I don't take lightly, because I could very easily justify going and spending the day snowboarding when there's a foot of fresh snow on the ground. But for me, maybe I have like an obsession of like getting to my goals, or the list of things to do is just too massive to be able to justify a day off. I just came out of a 2-day weekend where I try to put the work down for a minute, and just like ended up making the decision, which I think a lot of founders really have a hard time making the decision, which is, do you just compound your day over day and grind, even if your day is ambiguous, or do you go and pursue your passions? And so there was a time in my life where I skied 100 days in a season. There was time, now I'm in the time in my life where I have to work 100 days straight.
And maybe if you didn't have that time in your life, you wouldn't have to work 100 days straight.
And that's true too.
I look backwards sometimes and I say, man, if I messed around less, would I have done more sooner? That I beat myself up over that. People like, because I'll tell you, being a skier, skiing to me is even worse than rock climbing, because at least rock climbing, I get the summit. For skiing, it's literally wind in your face, gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like how many times are you going to ski that black run at fucking Hunter? You know what I mean? Like, it's different if you were like, hey, I'm going to ski down K2, like some kind of an achievement. But skiing is truly amusement. It's like pure fun, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, but I beat myself up over the fun because I don't feel it anymore. It's gone. It's like those nights, if some of you may be spending nights out at the bar or something like that, that might be your fun. I'm telling you, you won't remember one single moment of it.
Well, the reality is it doesn't map to a goal.
It doesn't map to a goal.
Back in my days of nonstop skiing, it mapped to a goal, which was like, I want to collect 100 days in a season. It was like, I
have totally different goals.
Yeah, like back in the day, in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, like that was the goal. Today, the goal is different. If I go on a day, sure, I could try to talk myself into like, it'll be like a fun day of content collection or like whatever else. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't map to any forward progress for the business. It's a day away from my family because they're not coming. It's just me on a solo mission. I'm not doing it for a networking group. I'm not making new friends. Like, so really, what is the value?
It's
a
literally
truly selfish
a hole
day
in your life, a complete waste of a day.
Truly.
And I actually have to say that, like, you bring up the family thing too. Like, that is a good point. Like, my kids want to go sleigh riding today. Like, I'm sure your kids want to go sleigh riding today.
Of course.
You go skiing, they get to spend the whole day inside.
That's right.
And it takes away from them too. And so you think about it and you're like, hey, I could actually have 2 hours of sledding with my family, which is actually like a real memory that you'll hold on to. Like, when your kids are old, you will look back on that and be like, that was a mistake. But that's 2 hours. You go skiing, it's the whole day. Like, the whole day is gone, and it's very hard to justify when you got goals, like you said. And not only that, it's not like the business is coasting.
Right.
So like, I know there's founders out there, you're wrestling with this decision because the business is not just chilling. You haven't achieved that level where you can step away. And I think that's perfectly normal. Like, I can step away again, we take vacations, but I do like to save those for being with my family. I don't like to take those as self days because I don't have enough time for that. And I've spent enough of my life in that situation that I don't need to look back on that. I already know what those days feel like, and they feel like nothing 10 years from now.
And you know what? It's interesting. You put in the time at the desk rather than going and doing the adventure. I know exactly what my day would be like if I were to go snowboarding. I know
You keep
exactly
thinking
what it would
about
be
it.
like. I know exactly what jumps I want to hit. I know exactly what rails I'm going to shred. I know what woods I'm going to ride through. I've skied that mountain probably 150 times in my life. And like I know exactly what my day is going to be like. But the things that we have accomplished in just a few hours of here being at work, I probably never could have thought about, right? Like I have a customer that committed to an upsell today. Had I not been on that call to hold that conversation because I was off skiing, I may have missed my moment. You know, like
And then that doesn't
one
just affect
example.
you, that affects everybody here.
Totally.
You miss a sale and people end up getting laid off. I
Totally.
can't stress that enough that you
Now,
really
what I
can't.
don't want to do is I don't want to give myself, you could very easily give yourself too much pressure, in which case like you never step away from the computer and like the other things in your life start to get impacted as well. So there is a blend, but there's something to be said about, Monday after a snowstorm where I'm pretty much like the only knucklehead in New York that's going to go travel to frickin' New Jersey or something stupid just to catch some turns. Like while I love that and that is a passion of mine, it's like fuck your passions, dude. Like you at some point, like I'm passionate about this business, I'm passionate about my family doing better, I'm passionate about us growing and starting new things and having creative conversations and creating content, and like all the things that we're doing to propel this business forward outweigh a day of some low grade turns on a hill on a pimple. It'd be one thing if I
Well,
lived in
it's not even
Colorado.
good, right? It's not good snowboarding. Like, let's be
Yeah,
realistic. Like,
it
listen, I
would
love
be great.
snowboarding too. I lived in Colorado and I don't ski or snowboard here because it's crap. It's just having my days on the mountain there completely were like they ruined it for me here. And like you said, my next thing is I'd like to teach my kids how to ski and snowboard. I think that, people may say like, "Oh, but you only have one life to live." When you have kids, you don't. You actually have I have three lives to live. You know what I mean? Like I actually have to make sure that like I'm going to live beyond this life. My children are going to live beyond my life.
I
So I
also
don't think
argue
about that anymore.
I have probably lived two or three lives selfishly, individually before the age of 35. I have the memories to prove it. Like I have been around
Or
the world
not.
twice. I've met everybody once. I've done everything. And that's not an ego play. That's like I really lived so that the next chapter of my life, I could really focus on changing my priorities. And it doesn't mean that you have to leave your passions at home. It just has to mean you got to choose. And so I
I
was
will
going to
say that.
I
Yeah,
was gonna
I don't
bring
feel
my son
bad.
snowboarding today, but that wouldn't have been a day for me. It's also
No, that
like
wouldn't have been
it's
fun.
also 0 degree temperatures
Be
outside. How long would
be
he have
real.
lasted? It's quite
Be real.
expensive. So now I have a $0 day versus it was gonna cost me $300 to $400 to
You
to
know
have a
what?
full day. So
That's another thing to think about though, the cost too. Like when you own a business, I'll say this, I've never missed a payroll, but I've missed a paycheck.
hmm,
And I'm telling you that
true.
you're the first one, as the business owner, you are the first one to not get paid when things don't go correctly. And that's where like the savings comes in. And you're like, could I have the same fun for less? And you start to think about that. Like my family and I, like I don't look at a flight to Europe. It's not in the cards because I don't have the money to do it. But guess what? We take the drive to Florida. I don't have the money for five plane tickets to go to Disney, but you know what? I was able to drive. I make things work for me in the way that I can. I make all my coffee at home. Every now and then I'll treat myself to something, but I'd prefer that. I'd like to live a little bit on less. And there were times in this business's history where like I had to involve my wife and say, hey, we got to buckle down a little bit because things are a little tight and I
Of
got to
course, me
keep
too.
things going. And they rise to the occasion for that. So that's the other side of the selfish thing is I feel bad if I'm like, okay, now that you guys did all of that, I'm gonna go on vacation by myself. Some
Hard
people
to
are fine with
justify.
that. I'm not. I'm not. That's just me. And like you said, I've lived through the climbs. I'm glad I did it in my 20s. Like if you're in your 20s watching this going, I don't want to make the mistake of I'm going to make the business and do all of those things. I'm on the fence about that because in terms of your physical fitness, it definitely wanes off in your 30s. And some people, you may say no, 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 but it is true. You heal faster when you're in your 20s. There's just things. So like if you are looking for like physical achievement, like some of my rock climbing achievements, they were definitely better done at a younger age, I think. But I definitely look back and think there was a lot of wasted time. And it's so funny because now the time is so constrained I get way more done. And I'm like, I have way more responsibilities. There's never a minute in my life to go like snowboarding through the woods by myself. But there was so much time back then to do things, and somehow you squandered so much of it. So I wrestle with that because I always think, and now you're right. I give up those things because I want to make sure that I have the money saved for the family to do their things, and I want to make sure that the business is successful. Like I'm trying to push us through, I want to get us to that next level because there is a level of entrepreneurialism where freedom happens. I know it's there. People talk about it. We're just not there yet.
And so, that's how the hard decisions are made. I'm just trying to be less selfish about it. I'm sure there's going to be people that are listening to this episode that are going through the same contemplation with whatever your passions are versus what the mission is. And like, if your mission isn't built on your passion, like, dude, there was a time in my life where like I seriously was pursuing being a sponsored snowboarder. And like, that was great. It didn't happen. So like, that's not where I'm at right now. So that it just doesn't map to the mission. And no matter how much I love it, I think about this all the time. All of my years of snowboarding have been on my dad's time. So my dad's in his late 60s now. All of the next coolest shit that I ever do snowboarding will be on my son's time. So to go on a day by myself where I'm like in a moment of my life where I'm trying to earn the freedom to be able to take him out of school on a random Wednesday when we have a snowstorm so we can shred, am I putting in the work today to afford myself those things in the future?
Right, or do you sacrifice tomorrow?
Some people are doing the opposite. They're like, I'm 37, I'm still healthy, I can really charge it. I want to go have a day for myself. I need a break from the family, whatever your excuses are. I went through all of that. In my head. And I'm like, you know what? For me, I'm trying to earn a level of freedom to the point where the business can run on autopilot, my investments fund my life passively, and I can make the decision to be able to go take the family to wherever the heck because it's a rounding error in my monthly income. That's not the case today.
What if you could have flown to Aspen? Like that's what I'm thinking about. I go like, if you put the work in now, you get to that place. Maybe you can fly to Aspen. Now you got to stay in shape. So that's
Sure.
another side of this discussion.
Right.
I definitely focus a lot on my diet, on my health. Like I'm definitely going to
You
go
have to.
climbing tomorrow. Today we're snowed in, so probably not, but I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to put that time in because that's different if you wait too long. So there's the deferred life plan. I think maybe both of our parents were on this plan, right? Where you wait till you're 60 to do anything cool. I'm not talking about that. But I do think that Paul Graham said this, and it was a really good quote. He said the average person works 30 years to like retire for 20 or something, but the entrepreneur works 30 years in 10 to retire for the rest of their life, kind of thing. And you have to kind of accept that. That is a bit of the case that you are going to work harder than you would if you were employed. The goal is to compress that amount of time that you're putting in that kind of work to a short period of time so you do get to do the things you want to do. Now, you may not find yourself, the paradox of when you finally retire to the beach, you're not gonna like it. Yeah, I don't like sitting on the beach now. I think that going and doing a thing with your retirement time is totally different. Like Kevin Dahlstrom on X, who's like out rock climbing 513 in his, I think he said he was in his 40s or almost 50s. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. That would be really cool. So there's like this point where, but you get to spend more time doing those things and not be having the financial pressure of all of that if you can manage that exit.
Right. I mean, it's a hard balance. I empathize with anybody that has true passions. I built a whole life of all the things, all the passions, and like I could very easily come up with a list of things to do if I could retire tomorrow that I would do on an everyday basis. It's not about giving up your passions. It's about choosing the mission over your passion. And if your passions don't map to your mission or to your goals, you have to make the choice, or at least I am making the choice to deprioritize my passions for right now. And
Now,
so
I got a question for
go
you.
ahead.
What about making your passion the mission, right? Forgetting sponsored snowboarder. Like I want to take professional athlete off the table because the reality is most of us,
Too
as
late.
good as we get,
I'm
well,
too
not even
late.
too late, as good as you got, dude, like I
Not
hate
even
to say it,
close.
dude, Sean White does 20 feet over the freaking coping. You probably jumped in the half pipe and maybe got 4 feet max, like on
Not
your
even
best
close.
day.
Not
Yeah,
even
right.
close.
Not even like, so let's like,
Nowhere near it.
for the vast majority of us, as hard as we try at the thing, we're never coming close to Olympic level. But there are people that I know and you know in climbing and in ski. They go and they open a business. They start a helmet company. They start Burton snowboards. So let's talk about this. We started this company and we are passionate about technology, but maybe not as much as these other businesses. So how do you reconcile the idea that maybe you should have gone into business in your passion? Like maybe we should start a goggle company tomorrow.
Well, you know, what's really interesting is you and I are getting a master class in business, right? I literally have my master's degree in business and operations from running this business. And I think there will come a time where you and me turn some of our passions into businesses. But this comes back to following opportunity instead of following passions. We talk about that all the time. And so the opportunity for us to start a business, make some money, leave our careers, and become entrepreneurs presented itself, maybe in a way that we were not originally passionate about. But guess what? I've become really passionate about making money, making connections, gainful employment, this type of thing, creating content with you that's going to live forever, that we'll talk about at each other's funeral. Someone's going to die first. And so to me, you become, I'm passionate.
By an avalanche.
I'm passionate about all of these things, but we followed opportunity. I'll tell you this much. If an opportunity comes along that maps to our passions, I'm going after that 100%.
I have said that, I want to shout out to Rock Garden because we met them and that was another one of those. It didn't work out for us where we got to do a partnership, but it was like they were building these 3D climbing guidebooks and now they're doing skiing guides. And I always looked at what they were doing as incredible because I said, wow, they're taking software and they're mapping it to their passions. And I think of that Japanese, the Venn diagram called Ikagi, I think it's called, where it's what you are good at, what you love, and what the world needs. And where those three circles intersect is like the perfect thing for you to spend your life doing. And for a lot of us, there's what you love, like let's snowboarding. There's what you're good at. And like, yes, you're good at snowboarding, but you're not Shaun White good at snowboarding. So like, you're not on this,
Better
you're not
salesman.
there. Same thing with me in rock climbing. I'm not over here. Like Alex Honnold just soloed that freaking bill. Not ever happening. Like that's not happening. I climbed hard, not that hard. And then there's what the world needs from you, and it doesn't need another guy to just like slide down an icy mountain on a freaking piece of plastic. It needs somebody who can like make the world a better place and help other people with their businesses. So we've managed, I think, to blend those things through, hey, I'm good at technology, I enjoy technology, and people need technology from us, and they need us. Now, there are other passions in there, and maybe you can find those. But then there's the other side of it. Maybe it's not so great as a business, right? Like running a clothing company or like a hardware company like that, like a goggle company, it's incredibly competitive. It's probably incredibly stressful. You're dealing
Super
with
hard.
stuff we don't deal with as a software company, like inventory and recalls and getting and manufacturing probably done overseas. And then you're dealing with the political climate and like, oh, tariffs come and now I got to start changing my whole process. So they're dealing with all sorts of stuff, nothing to do with snowboarding. So I want to take this other side of it too, which is sometimes the thing you love doing, what you love, is like not what the world needs from you. And it's also, as a business, it's not what you love. Like you may not love making snowboards. Like the guys who run So Ill climbing holds, they clearly love like climbing, making climbing holds and doing the gym around that. They're not the world's best climbers, but they built an incredible climbing brand around that. So there's also that side of things too. Like you can like surfing, but be like, I don't want to make surfing my business or my job.
And I think that's important to notice too. Like we followed opportunities. We've become pretty good at this, and I'm for sure a better salesman than I am a snowboarder. And so like I gotta continue to practice the thing that I'm getting better and better at. Snowboarding is not putting any money in my pocket. It's not making me any new connections that are going to change my life. And I say that confidently because I've been snowboarding for 30 years. And I've never gotten a business connection off of a ski day.
It was going to happen.
Right. I never got a business connection off of a ski day. But I will tell you that I get a business connection from just casually playing golf, from just not like I love golf and I'm like bored. I could be passionate about playing golf for sure. But since I'm not that good and I don't go in on a heads down day and you're standing next to people and the goal is to have conversation, certain things that don't just steal an entire day from you do add value back to your life. Again, this is really about if you have passions and you feel that you need to pursue them while you're also an entrepreneur and a founder and you want to do all of those things, that's your choice. I'm definitely not, I fully empathize. I fully get it. But for me, in my contemplation for today, having looked at like the largest snowstorm in the last 10 years, I'm probably more qualified than most to go and snowboard on today's day. And I chose not to because it doesn't map to my goals. And I don't need a day off. I need a lifetime off. Right. So I'm going to put in the work today so that I can have the rest of my life as a vehicle of freedom to be able to go and do whatever the hell I want to do. And that just doesn't require me to go snowboarding today.
And you're providing value to real people today. Like the customer we upsold today, the app that they're building will hopefully help millions of people who are suffering from traumatic brain injury, for instance.
That's right.
You gave up a day today to give something back, and I don't think that can be understated. I think there's a lot there. You also bring up this very interesting point, and I'm going to draw a parallel because being a pro athlete is such a zero-sum game in a lot of ways. For example, either you're a great snowboarder and you make a ton of money, or you're just barely great and you make zero and it costs you a ton of money. So let's just say you decided tomorrow that you're going to be as good as Tiger Woods and you decided to play golf, give up your job, divorce your wife, leave your family. I'm just playing golf and I'm going to be a pro golfer and you're all going to be happy when you be a millionaire. The problem is if you even get like if you get there, like you might even get to the PGA. If you can't get close, it worked out catastrophically for you. And I want to draw this parallel back a little bit to business because there's this thought about, VC funded businesses that either have to go to the moon or they're freaking trash and they go right to zero. And basically all the time you put in is worthless. And that is kind of, a friend of mine came to me about that. They said, I battled this uphill thing, building a product that I thought was needed, turned out to be a nice to have. And if it doesn't work out for me, I basically have nothing at the end other than I tried to build this business. Now, there's the alternate side, which is our business, a service-based business. We build software for people, and people have criticized that'll never be $1 billion business. You're right. It never will be. But even if I go semi-pro, even if I stay I'm still earning income for my family, providing jobs for people. I'm still going to be able to have, even if I don't get some big, let's just say there's no real big exit. Maybe you just work for 20 years and you sell the business at the end and you retire like a normal person. But you know what? You didn't play a zero-sum game. You didn't basically say either I'm going to the moon or I'm nothing. I'm either a pro golfer or I'm nothing. You didn't risk all of it. So there's this aspect of the bootstrapped service business. Not every business needs to be the $1 billion thing. And that's the hard thing about athletics and music and writing and art and all these things that people want to do. The vast majority of people who do those things really don't, they just do it for them. They enjoy it. We know a ton of people who are like, I believe that just making music makes you an artist. Being a writer, like just writing makes you a writer. You don't have to be Stephen King. But if you do take that risk and fail, you end up kind of destitute in like a horrible situation. So there's this world of, yeah, we're sticking around today, but just snowboard. You went snowboarding 3 weeks ago, bro. Like, sometimes it's like you got to just be happy with what you had. Yeah, we're not going to the bill but we're also not risking that zero. We're not in that zero-sum game where it's like either you're a great athlete or you basically are nothing.
Dude, thanks for helping me with the contemplation. It's another day focused on the grind and trying to get us to our goals and make the best possible business that we can so that we can all achieve a level of freedom that we dream about. But dude, thanks for a great episode. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.